to the channel, everybody. This is a special weekend edition of the Free Will Burning podcast. We just came out with one yesterday. I've had two, I think, by myself this past week. It's getting kind of carried away. The channel's all over the map. But that's okay. We're only 4 months old, and we've talked about everything from liver transplant to following the Grateful Dead to playing in heavy metal bands to what's going on in Venezuela we've covered a lot of ground, all things that I have personal involvement in, you could say. And it's really just been sort of circulating around all these various topics that I want to bring to light, or at least talk about in one way or another, setting up, I guess, a basic overall conversation I'm trying to develop here between me and you. But it's hard to do when you're a camera. I've had a number of years where I was a podcast or a radio host of real live radio, you have callers and things like that. I was speaking at clubs and things like that in front of and groups for most of my adult life, but there's always an audience there. This is kind of different, and that's okay. But I woke up today and I saw the news about what was going on in Iran with the United States, and we're not going to get into all that, but it does feed right into a conversation I've been having lately about why people want to leave the United States. We have a number of videos I've done on this over the past few weeks. You can check them all out. Today, I want to talk about, though, is the sort of mindset behind all this. There's this growing narrative that if you're unhappy in the United States, that the answer is simply to leave, that somewhere else that's maybe calm, quiet, cheap, simpler, but it's understandable because, for decades, we've been adapting to economic shocks, digital swings going all over the place, culture churn. It's like, what next? And now we got the sort of digital hum of, is AI going to take our job? And, never mind what's going on today in the real world as far as, geopolitical concerns, however you want to look at that. So, it just adds to that. And now you're going to have probably more and more people that are considering this for whatever reason. And let's hope it's not strictly political, because the fact of the matter is, if you're burned out and cynical and resentful, or you're financially unstable and you're just sick of things in your one place, that those patterns will travel with you. You don't just change life, you change the view. The life you live is yours. And so, I've learned that in my own experience, moving really constantly throughout my life, and now living, internationally over the past 6 years. Um, and it's so much of it is about the mindset. That's why the distinction really that matters here is that cheap is a mindset, whereas affordability is more of a strategy, right? Cheap is emotional, reactive. I got to do this right now. I'm not thought through. Strategy, that takes a little bit more thinking long term. What is it I'm really looking for? What are my objectives? What's the aim here? How will I know when I'm successful? Things like that. Otherwise, we're just, lobbing off and doing things. And it's easy to do that. But this generation understands more than anybody how much, well, I don't want to say it like that because we're not super special, but you know what I mean. We've been around the block on these kinds of things. We've shapeshifted for 40 years, absorbing each new wave without any kind of ceremony. And now we're at this weird place where we have either scattered optimism or scattered pessimism, and you better take a position. Otherwise, you're in the middle of the road. You know what happens in the middle of the road? You get run over. But the middle of the road, I thought, where always supposed to be. So it's kind of distracting. But the fact of the matter is, if you do decide to up and leave the United States and go international and travel maybe only to Latin America, like I did as far as distance, plenty of people go to other places much further off. I'm the accidental expat. I didn't intend to stay. I just visited a place and never left. And literally, I was only supposed to be here for 3 months. I've been here for 6 years. I was on my way to Europe immediately after my first 90-day visa, but that never happened. So if you move abroad, though, just because, the rent is cheap, your expectations are kind of cheap. And, when you get there, if you want the things, I've talked about this, if you want the special things from home you might miss, That's where the cost is going to come back in. Because if you go there and live like you lived at home, with the patterns and sort of angst, it might make it so that you're still needing these other things for some kind of emotional stability. Like I must have my KFC or whatever it might be. And I'll be ridiculous with my examples, but if you still need those things with you, then you're not ready to go. Stay home, figure it out there. And I'm not trying to dissuade you or tell you as some kind of expat that I say stay home. I'm telling you for your own good that perhaps it's something to really look at. I mean, the grass is always greener on the other side of the hill, but what happens over there is life. So the life you're living here and the life you're living there is still going to be the same you. You might have like I said, you can have a different view, different people around you. Maybe you don't understand how they speak because you don't maybe speak the language. But you're the one that has to be prepared to do that. You can't be reactionary in times like this, like for an election or for I lost my job and I need to go someplace else now because it's cheap there while I get by. If you're moving internationally, it's a bigger deal than moving from Texas to Oregon. All right. It's a much bigger deal. And the loneliness factor is huge. If you do bring all of that with you, if you spend all of your time glued to the old you, your new you is going to be hamstrung by yourself. And then you're going to leave. Maybe, I'm not trying to forecast your doom, but I've seen it happen. Most of the expats that I've seen come through in the time that I've been gone are gone within 6 months. Even the ones that came here to stay, because they didn't do the 6-month thing prior. That's one I've talked about this in a video in January. That's number one. If you want to go to a country, go stay there for 6 months. See how that feels. Better yet, stay there for a year before you start really moving in. Because there's so much of that honeymoon phase that wears off and the getting into the grind of a new life. What if you don't like that life? Now you got a whole new set of now. Okay, well, it's not good in Colombia. I'm going to go to Panama, or it's not good in Panama. Time for me to jump over to Italy or wherever. Wherever. I'm just going to keep hopping around because these places are such a problem. What's the common thread, right? I'm not trying to dissuade you from considering the options of leaving the United States. I did it, and I actually am very glad I did, and I'm encouraging others that I know, if they really are into it, to give it a shot. But not in the escapism, go where rent is cheap, here's how to live for $1,000. Is your life worth $1,000? All right. I don't want to turn life into a dollar amount because I hate that. I hate looking at everything about what I do as how much it's going to cost. I like the experience of life. So that's just me. I don't know how you look at it, but if your quality of life is defined by a $1,000 experience, that doesn't sound like settling. That sounds like just sort of hopping around while somebody else, maybe something else, figures it out for you. At some point, you need to take charge of your own life and figure out how, hey, if I only have $1,000, what's the best strategic way to do that? Not I have $1,000, where can I go live? It might look the same on paper, but it's a completely different mindset. Cheap is a mindset. Affordability is a strategy. What am I building here? Am I creating a life or am I escaping a life? If you're escaping, you will be running from yourself until you stop, until you start to wonder about what is best for me in the long term, thinking at least a few months down the road. I'm not good at it. I don't have, as far as the long term. I've been independent working now for 30 years almost, and remotely the whole time. I don't have big fancy fat KOA, 401k and all that stuff, because I have lived a life of experience. And I also did have, of course, a health thing that wiped out a bunch of my finances completely up until a few years ago. But be that as it may, I squeeze every dime of existence out of every dime I spend. I don't save the, I don't spend the dime knowing how much I saved on the dime. I spend the dime knowing how much I enjoyed what I got for the dime. And so perhaps share that mindset before you pack everything in a storage unit, start worrying about international travel insurance. And oh my God, look, it's so beautiful down in Cozumel this time of year, or Buenos Aires, or wherever. And it is. But when you get there, you have to live there, not just be a visitor and a tourist. If you want to be a tourist, by all means, go on vacation. I love it. I would love to go on vacation right now, not in the cards. But I also feel that I kind of live on a permanent vacation because I feel no need to have to go anywhere to feel better. Sounds like I'm talking myself up, and perhaps I am. All right. But fact of the matter is, it's up to you to decide for you. So with that out of the way, folks, that's all I got for this beautiful Saturday afternoon. I hope for the best for all parties involved on all sides of the equation over there, what's going on, that any other war or any conflict going on around the world. Nobody wants to see individuals harmed. Okay. People, you know, bodies of people. I mean, certainly when it gets to the people that run this stuff, some of them should be maybe held accountable. And I'm not picking on any particular side, but you know what I mean. People that call the shots at the top aren't the ones that sometimes have to feel it. But at the same time, just because you weren't the one just young enough or whatever to run around and feel it or you happen to be there doesn't mean maybe you're fully equipped to be able to call a shot. So it's a weird way that we play that. And that's called modern warfare, geopolitical. And so we can bitch about that all day long, but that's not why I'm here. That's what it is. Y'all take it easy. See you on Tuesday. And then next Friday, we'll have we'll have Free Will Burn Up podcast with Troy. And we'll be talking a little bit more about those great 70s and 80s when we were all young Gen Xers. And for all you non-Gen Xers, hi. We love you too. So take it easy. See you next time, man.